Hello. Today we'll be taking a quick look at how to start populating your dashboard with logs. Last time we had a video, we talked about inputs and how to get logs coming into the NeQter box, and today we're going to be talking about how to visualize them. We'll be taking a quick look at dashboards and what they cover, what each dashboard covers, and which dashboards you would generally need to have active depending on your setup. So, without further ado, let us begin. So, the first thing we want to do is we're going to want to go to Settings. And from settings, we will want to hit up dashboards. But before we do that, we want to make sure we have input set up correctly. Again, we talked about this last video, but if you aren't receiving anything through inputs, then you're not going to have anything populating in dashboards. So make sure all of your inputs are in. And once you do, you're just going to go to dashboards and you will find it pretty much empty. So we're going to start with this empty first before we get into this section. Don't need you open. Apply. And we'll be left with a screen that's somewhat like this. So when you first come into this dashboards page, you'll find all of this will be most likely closed, like this. So what each of these dashboards do is if you go to the dashboard tab over here, these dashboards right there will actually refer to which of these dashboards are activated. So for example, if we go back to settings and dashboards, and we were to activate, let's say, Windows dashboards. So I want to start collecting some window event logs, apply changes. What we will do is if we go back to dashboards, we'll discover that we now have a new dashboard being made. Windows event logs, all activity. And if you're to click this, then we have it beginning to populate. Or in this case, yep, populating. And this is what basically each of these dashboard tabs do. If you do not have it enabled in the dashboard settings, then you will not see the dashboard or their respective Discover log tabs at all. So you will need to have these activated for whatever system you want to have logs selected for and visualized. Now going down the list, you will begin to see there are a bunch of different types of dashboards you can have activated. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. If you have a Barracuda firewall, then obviously you have Barracuda dashboard enabled. That way you can start visualizing those syslog files. Same thing with Cisco. They're split between Meraki and ASA, so whichever device you have, enable that specific device. FortiGate, if all activity covers pretty much everything that's going on that FortiGate in particular. Web traffic just means it's tracking only the information collected by your sniffer on the FortiGate. And as for VPN, that is just VPN traffic. G Suite, that gets all the information that you inputted into if you have this set up under inputs. This will basically collect any information being collected by this. So, if you have a G Suite, if your company uses G Suite and you have logs being collected by NeQter for G Suite, you want to have these enabled. Obviously, you should only have the dashboards enabled that you want enabled. So if you're not collecting any admin activity, then you don't need that enabled. But if you are, then enable it. Linkski is the same thing as Barracuda. If you have a Linkski device, then enable this and you can start collecting information from them. Office 365, just like with G Suite, activate this if you're collecting Office 365 information. Other is basically a catch-all. If you have a device that is not on this listing but can send syslog files, you can collect it under NeQter. If you need more help with that, contact support@NeQterLabs.com and we can go over in more detail how to maybe get this to work properly for you. Some devices work better than others depending on the device. pfSense is just like before with Linkski. If you have a pfSense device, have this enabled. Same thing with SonicWall. Sophos is split in half. You have XG and UTM. Depending on which Sophos device you have, if you have a UTM, use the UTM dashboards. If you have an XG, use only the XG ones. So all activities just kind of tracks activity on the Sophos device, whereas web traffic views the traffic going in and out of the device. Synology, just like Barracuda and the others, if you have a Synology device, activate Synology. Vulnerabilities actually is a dashboard created by your scans. So when you run a vulnerability scan, it actually has its own dashboard now under dashboards. So if you wish to see your vulnerability scans actual, if you want to see it visualized, that way you can better digest it, then you can always have this enabled for that. Highly recommend it if you can. It's really helpful. And finally, you have WatchGuard, which just like Barracuda and a few of the other dashboards before, if you have a WatchGuard device, then activate this so you can begin visualizing those syslogs. So for now, we only have this kind of information available to us, so we're going to just activate only the vulnerabilities and agents for now. Obviously, depending on what systems you have connected to your NeQter device and what you're using, it varies from person to person. So finally, where we're going to go is back to dashboards over here. And when we go to dashboards, we'll see that the dashboards we enabled will now show up instead of this being pretty much an empty page. So we get out of this quick. And as you can see, vulnerabilities, event logs, metrics, all here. Each of those are separate dashboards. If you go under Discover, you'll also discover that those same areas are now enabled. Windows dashboards are always going to be under Windows V2, and a few of them will be kind of put together into one specific category under Discover, and they are only separated under dashboards. But this is where you can get the actual raw log information that dashboards use to visualize. And from here, you can just kind of go to each dashboard as you wish. So if I want to see metrics overview, for metrics recollecting, I could see what my laptop is sending currently. And that's pretty much all you're going to need for dashboards. All you have to do is activate the ones that you need, and you're ready to go. And with that said, the next video we will be discussing is how to set up network monitoring, which, while not required by NIST, it is very helpful in keeping track of activity on your local devices. I hope you enjoyed this video and hope to see you again in the next one.